The silent pioneer. Deep in the void between the Carina and Sagittarius arms of the Milky Way, the ESS Magellan drifted silently through space, its antimatter heart pulsing with barely contained power. Commander Sarah Chen watched through the observation deck as distant stars painted streaks of light across the darkness, a peculiar effect of the ship's experimental quantum drive that never ceased to amaze her. "Commander," Lieutenant Park's voice crackled through the ship's comm system. "We're detecting unusual gravitational distortions at bearing 047 Mark 183. The readings, they're unlike anything in our database." Chen straightened her uniform and made her way to the bridge. The Magellan was humanity's first true deep space explorer, pushing far beyond the comfortable boundaries of Earth's colonial sphere. 3 months into their mission, they had already mapped dozens of previously unknown phenomena. But something in Park's voice suggested this was different. The bridge hummed with quiet efficiency as holographic displays painted the air with swirling data streams. Park's fingers danced across his console as he refined the sensor feeds. "The distortion appears artificial in nature, Commander. There's a clear geometric pattern to the gravitational waves." "Artificial." Chen leaned forward, studying the readings. Humanity had yet to encounter any evidence of advanced alien civilization, though most scientists agreed it was only a matter of time. "Show me." The main view screen shifted, displaying a three-dimensional representation of local space. At its center, a complex web of intersecting gravitational fields twisted reality itself into impossible shapes. It was beautiful, purposeful, and utterly beyond human engineering capabilities. "We're also detecting trace particles consistent with quantum wake signatures," Dr. Emily Santos, the ship's chief physicist, announced from her station. "But the energy levels are astronomical. Whatever created this would need to harness the power output of multiple stars." Chen felt a familiar tension in her shoulders, the weight of command decisions that could shape humanity's future. First contact protocols were clear, but they had been written with the assumption that humanity would be dealing with civilizations of roughly comparable technological development. This was something else entirely. "All stations, condition yellow," she ordered. "Dr. Santos, continue analyzing those energy signatures. Lieutenant Park, passive sensors only. Let's not announce ourselves until we know more. And get me a secure quantum link to Earth Command." Hours later, Chen sat in her ready room, speaking with Admiral Harrison via quantum entanglement communicator. Instantaneous communication across any distance, another impossible technology humanity had somehow stumbled upon decades before their theoretical development timeline. "The Security Council is divided," Harrison explained, his holographic image flickering slightly. "Half want you to make immediate contact, arguing that any civilization this advanced has surely detected us already. The others want us to turn around and pretend we never saw it." Chen finished. "With respect, Admiral, that's not an option. We're exploring out here precisely because humanity needs to understand our place in the galaxy. We can't hide from what we might find." Harrison nodded slowly. "Agreed. You have authorization to proceed with first contact protocols, Commander." But he held up a warning finger. "Maintain full defensive readiness. We've learned the hard way that advanced technology doesn't always correlate with peaceful intentions." Chen thought back to the Mars incident 5 years earlier, when humanity's first antimatter containment failure had nearly wiped out the entire colony. They had learned, adapted, and emerged stronger. It was the human way. As she returned to the bridge, new information scrolled across the displays. The gravitational anomaly had resolved itself into something even more extraordinary. A massive structure, nearly the size of Earth's moon, composed of materials that defied conventional physics. "Commander," Santos called out, excitement barely contained in her voice. "We're detecting internal movement within the structure. And there's an energy signature approaching us. It appears to be some kind of scan." Before Chen could respond, every display on the bridge flickered and changed. Alien symbols cascaded across the screens, eventually resolving themselves into recognizable text through the ship's advanced translation matrices. Unidentified vessel. The message read, "Your power signature is unexpected. Explain your purpose in sea and in the ends of propulsion." Chen smiled slightly. Of course, they were as surprised by us as we are by them. "Open a channel," she ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves." The response was immediate, but not what anyone expected. A new message appeared. Impossible. Containment of antimatter ions at your technological level violates ninomen development intipatitiorans. Clarify. "They think we're lying about our capabilities," Santos whispered, astonished. Or they're genuinely shocked that we've managed something their models say we shouldn't be capable of. Chen finished. She squared her shoulders. "Well then, let's show them that humanity has a habit of defying expectations. Lieutenant Park, prepare a full technical briefing on our propulsion systems. Dr. Santos, compile data on our antimatter containment protocols. Let's give our new friends something to think about." As her crew worked, Chen watched the massive alien structure through the view screen. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries. First contact with an advanced alien civilization. But no one had predicted that we would be the ones surprising them with our capabilities. The Magellan's antimatter heart pulsed steadily, a testament to human ingenuity and determination. Whatever came next, Chen knew this encounter would change everything. Not just for humanity, but for a galaxy that clearly wasn't prepared for our unique approach to technological development. "Message prepared, Commander," Park announced. Chen nodded. "Send it, and make sure they understand. We're just getting started." Diplomatic shockwaves. The great hall of the Concordat's diplomatic chamber stretched impossibly upward, its crystalline walls shifting with patterns of light that seemed to follow some alien mathematics. Commander Chen stood before the assembled representatives of 17 spacefaring civilizations, feeling remarkably calm despite the gravity of the situation. "Impossible," declared Ambassador Xith of the Myriad Worlds, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns that the translation matrix interpreted as extreme agitation. "No species achieves stable antimatter containment without first mastering Dyson sphere technology. The energy requirements alone." "And yet," Chen interrupted smoothly, "here we stand." She gestured to Dr. Santos, who activated a holographic display showing the Magellan's engine schematics. "Our approach focused on dynamic containment fields rather than brute force energy application. Sometimes the elegant solution isn't the obvious one." The assembled aliens murmured among themselves, their various forms of communication creating a strange symphony of clicks, light patterns, and subsonic vibrations. The massive chamber, located within what Chen now knew was called the Hub, a vast artificial construct serving as the seat of galactic governance, seemed to resonate with their disquiet. First contact had evolved rapidly over the past week. What began as surprise at finding an impossible human ship had quickly escalated into a full diplomatic summit when the extent of humanity's technological achievements became clear. It wasn't just the antimatter drive that disturbed them. It was everything else. "Your species claims to have developed quantum entanglement communication before achieving planetary unification," noted the archival mind, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate mechanical shell. "This violates all known sociological development patterns." Chen nodded. "We've noticed a theme in your concerns. You seem to believe technological progress should follow a strict, predetermined path. Humanity has found reality to be more flexible." "Flexibility leads to chaos," rumbled Ambassador Krex, his massive reptilian form towering over the other representatives. "There is a natural order to scientific advancement. Species who defy this order typically destroy themselves before achieving interstellar travel. You should not exist." And yet, Chen repeated with a slight smile. Here we stand. The chamber erupted in overlapping arguments, each species contributing to the cacophony in their own unique way. Chen watched as the various factions began to emerge, those fascinated by humanity's achievements versus those terrified by the implications. High Chancellor Ixel, a being composed of interconnected geometric shapes that somehow suggested consciousness, raised an appendage for silence. The chamber immediately stilled. The existence of humanity's achievements cannot be denied. Ixel's thoughts resonated directly in everyone's minds. The question before us is what this means for galactic stability. Commander Chen, your species has developed technologies in an order we believed impossible. This suggests either remarkable luck or a fundamental flaw in your understanding of technological progression. Chen finished. With respect, Chancellor, perhaps the universe is less rigid than you've assumed. Dr. Santos stepped forward, her excitement overwhelming her diplomatic restraint. We've reviewed your technological development models, she said, and we've identified several assumptions that may be unnecessarily limiting. For instance, your approach to quantum mechanics assumes causality must be preserved at all scales. Because it must be. Ambassador Xith flared brightly. The alternative is precisely what we achieved with our quantum drive. Santos interrupted. By accepting certain paradoxes as features rather than bugs, we opened up entire new avenues of research. Yes, it was risky. Yes, we lost ships and brave crews learning to harness these forces. But we persisted. The archival mind shell hummed thoughtfully. Your species embraces risk to an unusual degree. We prefer to think of it as refusing to accept artificial limitations, Chen corrected. Every time we encountered a theory that said, "This is impossible," we asked why. And if the answer wasn't satisfying, we kept pushing. Reckless, Krex growled. Your approach threatens the stability of established scientific principles. Science isn't about stability, Chen countered. It's about understanding. And sometimes understanding requires us to challenge our most basic assumptions. High Chancellor Ixel's form shifted through complex geometries before settling into what the translation matrix suggested was a pose of deep contemplation. There is wisdom in caution, they broadcast. The development hierarchy exists because we have seen the destruction wrought by species who achieved power before wisdom. And yet, Chen said for the third time, here we stand, not as conquerors or destroyers, but as explorers seeking to learn and share knowledge. She gestured to the assembled aliens. Look around this chamber, 17 species, each with their own unique biology, culture, and perspective. Imagine what we could achieve if we combined humanity's willingness to challenge boundaries with your accumulated wisdom and experience. The chamber fell silent as the implications of her words sank in. Even the most conservative representatives couldn't deny the potential benefits of cooperation with a species that had found new paths to advanced technology. There will need to be safeguards, the archival mind said finally. Protocols to ensure responsible sharing of knowledge. Of course, Chen agreed. We're not suggesting throwing away all caution. But perhaps it's time to reconsider some of your fundamental assumptions about how species and civilizations develop. High Chancellor Ixel's form crystallized into what Chen had learned was their version of a formal decree pose. We will establish a joint scientific commission to study humanity's technological achievements and their implications for our understanding of development theory. Additionally, they paused, geometric patterns swirling. We will need to discuss humanity's other technological innovations. Our preliminary analysis suggests you may have made similar impossible breakthroughs in other areas. Chen smiled. They had no idea. The antimatter drive was just the beginning. Wait until they learned about their quantum computing experiments or the early tests of their consciousness transfer technology. Each revelation would send new shockwaves through the galactic community. But that could wait. For now, they had achieved their primary objective, opening a dialogue with the broader galactic community. As the various ambassadors broke into smaller discussion groups, Chen could already see the excitement of scientific curiosity overwhelming their initial fear of the unknown. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they had done it their way, by refusing to accept that anything was truly impossible. The Proving Ground. 3 months after humanity's introduction to the galactic community, the Concordat faced its first major crisis with their newest members. A quantum filament storm had formed in the Orion Spur, threatening multiple species' core worlds with devastation. The Concordat's massive chamber, usually a place of measured debate, had erupted into chaos. The containment fields are failing. Ambassador Xith's crystalline form pulsed with urgent patterns. 3 more systems lost contact in the last solar cycle. The storm is growing exponentially. Commander Chen studied the holographic display showing the storm's expansion. The quantum filaments were tearing through space like cosmic lightning, disrupting the carefully maintained trade routes and communication networks that bound the galaxy's civilizations together. Our models predict total collapse of affected regions within 15 cycles, the archival mind reported, its mechanical shell projecting waves of data. Standard containment protocols are proving ineffective. Because you're trying to stop it, Dr. Santos interrupted, earning shocked looks from the assembled representatives. She had been studying the storm data intently, her expression growing more animated by the minute. Look at the pattern. It's not random destruction. The filaments are following quantum probability waves. High Chancellor Ixel's geometric form shifted. Explain. Santos manipulated the holographic display, highlighting the storm's movement patterns. It's similar to what we encountered during early quantum drive experiments. The filaments aren't just moving through space, they're moving through probability states. Traditional containment fields only address the physical dimension. Impossible to contain multiple probability states simultaneously, Ambassador Krex rumbled. Energy requirements would be astronomical using conventional methods, Chen finished. But we don't need to contain every state. We just need to collapse them into a single favorable outcome. She turned to Santos. Like the Jakarta experiment. Santos nodded eagerly. Exactly. We can adapt the quantum focusing technology from our drive systems. Instead of trying to stop the storm, we guide it into a single probability track. The alien representatives exchanged uncertain looks. The Jakarta experiment was one of many human scientific endeavors that had horrified them. An attempt to manipulate quantum probability itself that had initially resulted in the loss of an entire research station. But it had also led to breakthroughs in quantum drive technology. The risk, Xith began, is less than doing nothing. Chen cut in. Your models show the storm destroying dozens of inhabited systems. We're offering a solution. High Chancellor Ixel's form pulsed with decision patterns. Explain your proposal in detail. Over the next hour, Santos laid out a plan that made most of the alien scientists visibly uncomfortable. It involved using a network of modified antimatter reactors to generate a massive quantum interference pattern, essentially creating a probability lens that would force the storm to collapse into a single, manageable state. This is madness, Krex declared. The power requirements alone would drain multiple star systems. Not if we use your Dyson sphere network, Chen countered. Combined with our quantum focusing technology, we can generate the necessary field strength. But, she held up a hand, we'll need full cooperation. Every affected system will need to synchronize their power grid to our specifications. The chamber erupted in argument again. What humanity was proposing violated dozens of safety protocols and development hierarchies. But as the debate raged, another 3 systems went dark. Finally, High Chancellor Ixel called for order. The human proposal is dangerous and unprecedented, they announced. It is also our only option that offers any hope of success. We will proceed. The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. The Magellan coordinated with ships from 17 different species, creating a vast network of quantum focusing arrays. Dr. Santos worked with alien scientists to synchronize the power systems, while Chen helped coordinate the massive evacuation of systems in the storm's predicted path, just in case. Field generators at full power, Santos reported from her station aboard the Magellan. Quantum coherence at 97%. Ready to initiate on your command. Chen looked at the holographic representation of the storm. It had grown even larger, its quantum filaments writhing like living things as they tore through spacetime. Everything they had learned about pushing boundaries and accepting calculated risks had led to this moment. All ships, execute focusing sequence, she ordered. Collapse the wave function. Energy poured from dozens of Dyson spheres through the quantum focusing network. The storm's filaments began to twist and bend, drawn inexorably into new patterns by the artificial probability field. Warning alarms blared as power systems across the network strained against their limits. Containment fields failing on arrays 7 and 12. Someone reported. Quantum coherence dropping. Reroute power from the secondary grid, Chen commanded. Maintain field strength at all costs. For a moment, it seemed like the entire universe held its breath. The storm raged against the quantum interference pattern, reality itself seeming to buckle under the strain. Then, with a flash that temporarily blinded every sensor in the network, the filaments collapsed into a single, stable state. The storm was gone. As systems came back online and damage reports began flowing in, Chen watched the alien representatives struggling to process what they had just witnessed. Humanity hadn't just solved the crisis. They had done it by breaking nearly every rule in the Concordat scientific handbook. Impossible, Krex muttered, but there was a new tone in his voice, something almost like respect. And yet, Chen replied with a tired smile, here we stand. The victory had come at a cost. Several focusing arrays had been destroyed, and the power drain would take months to recover from. But they had saved countless lives and proven that humanity's unorthodox approaches could solve problems that had stumped the galaxy's oldest civilizations. As the crisis response teams began their work, Chen couldn't help but notice the changed attitudes among the alien representatives. They still seemed uncomfortable with humanity's methods, but it was harder to argue with success. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was helping to drive that change. Calculated risks. The success of the quantum storm containment had changed everything. In the months that followed, humanity's influence spread through the Concordat like ripples in a pond. Some species embraced the change, eagerly participating in joint research projects. Others retreated, fortifying their borders against what they saw as dangerous disruption to the natural order. Commander Chen stood in her quarters aboard the Magellan, watching a recorded transmission from Earth. Admiral Harrison's holographic form spoke with barely contained excitement. The technology exchange has exceeded our wildest expectations, he reported. The myriad worlds have shared their crystal computing architecture, and the archival mine's data storage techniques are revolutionizing our quantum systems. But his expression grew serious. We're also facing increased resistance from the conservative factions. The Krex Coalition, Chen said grimly. Ambassador Krex had been busy, gathering like-minded species who feared humanity's influence. They called themselves preservers of galactic stability, but their actions spoke of deeper fears. Precisely, Harrison confirmed. They're pushing for restrictions on technological sharing, arguing that introducing advanced concepts to unprepared species violates natural development laws. Chen's reply was interrupted by an urgent alert. Commander to the bridge. Lieutenant Park's voice crackled through the comm. Priority situation. The bridge was tense when Chen arrived. The main display showed a massive energy signature near the border of Krex-controlled space. Dr. Santos was already analyzing the readings, her expression troubled. They're attempting to recreate our quantum focusing technology, Santos reported. But their approach is fundamentally flawed. They're trying to force it into their existing technological framework instead of understanding the underlying principles. Show me, Chen ordered. The display zoomed in on a massive construction project. The Krex Coalition had built what appeared to be a traditional containment facility, but they had integrated stolen human quantum technology in ways that made Santos physically wince. They're treating quantum probability like it's just another energy field to be contained, Santos explained. But you can't brute force quantum mechanics. The system is already showing signs of cascade failure. How bad? If they activate that system at full power, it could tear a hole in space-time. The damage would make the quantum storm look like a gentle breeze. Chen felt a familiar weight settle onto her shoulders. The Krex coalition had opposed humanity's methods at every turn, and now their attempt to prove they could master the same technology threatened catastrophe. "Open a channel to their facility," she ordered. The response was immediate and hostile. "This is a restricted research facility," a Krex official growled. "Your presence here violates." "Your containment field is going to collapse," Chen interrupted. "We're detecting quantum instabilities that could devastate this entire sector. Let us help you shut it down safely." "More human lies," the official sneered. "We have contained the quantum forces within acceptable parameters. Your concerns are noted and dismissed." The channel closed. Chen turned to Santos. "Options. We could try to disrupt their power grid," Santos suggested. "Force an emergency shutdown." But she hesitated. That would be seen as an act of aggression. Before Chen could respond, new alerts flashed across the displays. The Krex facility was powering up their system. Energy readings spiked dangerously. "Multiple quantum anomalies forming," Park reported. "Field strength exceeding predicted containment limits." Chen made her decision. "Contact High Chancellor Ixel. We need emergency authorization to intervene." She turned to her tactical officer. "Begin calculating targeting solutions for their power distribution nodes. If we have to shut them down, I want it done with minimal collateral damage." But the universe had other plans. As they waited for the Concordat's response, the Krex facility's containment field began to unravel. Reality itself seemed to twist and bend around the failing quantum matrix. "Field collapse in 3 minutes," Santos announced. "Commander, there might be another way. But it's risky. Riskier than watching that facility tear apart half the sector." Santos quickly outlined her plan. They could use the Magellan's quantum drive to generate a counter-resonance field, essentially creating a controlled probability collapse. But it would mean pushing their systems far beyond their designed limits. "Chances of success?" Chen asked. 30%. Maybe less. And if we fail, we'll be caught in the collapse too." Chen nodded. "Begin power transfer to the quantum drive. All non-essential personnel to emergency stations." The next 3 minutes were a testament to human ingenuity and determination. As the Krex facility's containment systems failed one by one, the Magellan's crew raced to reconfigure their drive systems. Santos worked frantically at her station, making calculations and adjustments that violated half a dozen safety protocols. "Field collapse imminent," Park warned. "Quantum resonance reaching critical levels." "Now, Dr. Santos," Chen ordered. The Magellan's quantum drive engaged, generating a field that interacted with the facility's failing containment system. For a moment, the fabric of space-time seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a flash of energy that overloaded their sensors, the quantum forces collapsed into a stable state. When their systems came back online, the Krex facility was dark but intact. Their containment field had failed, but the Magellan's intervention had prevented catastrophe. "Status report," Chen called out. "Drive systems damaged but repairable," Santos reported. "The quantum matrix is stable." "We did it." Before Chen could respond, a new signal came through. High Chancellor Ixel requesting an immediate conference. The geometric patterns of their form suggested both concern and something else, appreciation. "Your actions were unauthorized and dangerous," Ixel began. "They also saved countless lives and demonstrated exactly why humanity's perspective is both valuable and threatening." Their form shifted. "The Concordat must evolve, but change cannot be forced. We must find a balance between innovation and stability." Chen looked at her crew. humans who had just risked everything to save those who opposed them. With respect, Chancellor, sometimes the greatest risk is refusing to take any risks at all. The quantum storm crisis had proven humanity's worth to the galaxy. This incident proved something else, that they couldn't force other species to accept their methods. They could only lead by example and hope that, in time, the galaxy would understand that progress and safety weren't mutually exclusive. As repair crews began their work, Chen received word that several moderate members of the Krex coalition were requesting technical advisors to help them better understand quantum mechanics. It wasn't a revolution, but it was a start. Evolution's edge. 1 year after humanity's dramatic entrance into galactic society, the Concordat's great chamber looked very different. Where once there had been rigid separation between species, now representatives mingled freely, sharing ideas and debating new possibilities. The quantum storm crisis and the Krex incident had sparked a revolution in thinking that no one could have predicted. Commander Chen, newly promoted to Earth's permanent ambassador to the Concordat, stood before the assembled representatives. The Magellan floated in high orbit above them, its quantum drive now just one of many human innovations being carefully studied and adapted by other species. The results speak for themselves, Chen announced, gesturing to the holographic display showing technological advancement rates across known space. In the past year, we've seen more breakthrough developments than in the previous decade, not just in human space, but across all participating civilizations. Because you've abandoned safety protocols that existed for good reason, Ambassador Krex rumbled, but there was less conviction in his voice than before. The near disaster at his people's research facility had led to some humbling revelations. No, Chen corrected, because we've learned to balance caution with courage, to see risks not as barriers, but as challenges to be understood and overcome. The archival mind's mechanical shell hummed with agreement. The human approach to quantum mechanics has revolutionized our understanding of reality itself. Their willingness to accept paradox as a feature rather than a flaw. The beam paused, its energy form pulsing with what seemed like amusement. Well, it has forced us to reconsider many fundamental assumptions. High Chancellor Ixel's geometric form shifted through complex patterns before settling into what Chen had learned was their equivalent of a proud stance. When humanity first arrived, many feared their unorthodox methods would destabilize our carefully ordered society. Instead, they have shown us that true stability comes not from avoiding change, but from learning to adapt to it. The chamber's displays filled with images from across the galaxy. A myriad worlds research station successfully testing their first antimatter reactor. Krex scientists working alongside human quantum physicists to develop safer containment protocols. The archival mind's people experimenting with new forms of energy-matter translation inspired by human consciousness transfer technology. But it hasn't been a one-way exchange, Chen continued. Humanity has learned just as much from you. Your Dyson sphere technology has revolutionized our power generation. The myriad world's crystal computing architecture has opened new possibilities in quantum processing. The archival mind's data storage techniques, she smiled. Well, let's just say our scientists are still trying to wrap their heads around some of those concepts. This is the true power of diversity. Ambassador Xith's crystalline form sparkled with enthusiasm, not just in biology or culture, but in approaches to understanding the universe itself. Chen nodded. Exactly. The old model of technological development assumed there was only one correct path. But the universe is far too complex for such simple answers. Sometimes you need to take the safe, measured approach. Sometimes you need to take bold risks. The key is knowing when to apply each strategy. The chamber hummed with discussion as representatives debated this point. Even the most conservative factions had to admit that the past year had brought advancements they had once thought impossible. And while there had been failures and setbacks, the combined knowledge of all species had helped prevent these from becoming disasters. Which brings us to our proposal, Chen continued. Earth has been working with several member species to establish a new type of research institute. Not one bound by rigid development hierarchies, but one that combines the best of all our approaches. The holographic display shifted to show a massive structure under construction in neutral space. It resembled a hybrid of human and alien architecture, designed to accommodate beings of all forms and environmental needs. The Convergence Institute, Chen announced, a place where species at all development levels can come together to share knowledge, challenge assumptions, and push the boundaries of what's possible, safely and responsibly. And what of species who choose not to participate? Krex asked. That's their right, Chen replied simply. We're not here to force anyone to change. We're simply offering opportunities for those who want them. High Chancellor Ixel's form crystallized into their formal decree position. The Concordat has voted to approve this initiative, they announced. The old hierarchies will remain as guidelines, but no longer as rigid restrictions. Each species must be free to find their own path forward, while benefiting from the collective wisdom of all. As the chamber erupted in excited discussion, Chen felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Humanity had done more than just prove itself to the galaxy. They had helped catalyze an evolutionary leap in how civilizations approached progress itself. Her communicator chimed with a message from Dr. Santos, still serving aboard the Magellan. You'll want to see this, it read. We've detected some unusual readings from the galactic core, something that shouldn't be possible according to both our science and the Concordats. Chen smiled. Some might have seen such an announcement as a warning, but humanity had learned that impossibilities were often just opportunities in disguise. She looked up at the chamber full of beings from across the galaxy, all engaged in passionate debate about the future. And yet, she whispered to herself, here we stand, ready for whatever comes next. The galaxy had changed, and while the path forward might be uncertain, they would face it together, with wisdom and caution, yes, but also with the courage to reach for the impossible. After all, that's what humans did best.